We spent the last 5 months traveling around the world with one goal in mind: find the greatest experience in college football.
Along our journey, we went to 23 games in 2 countries
across 12 different campuses
and spent over $100,000. We hit every experience you could imagine, from the biggest to the smallest.
This team sucked.
Some lived up to the hype, and some massively disappointed.
Just pack it up, buddy.
So bad I forgot it was Saturday.
In this video, we're gonna break down all our experiences into our tier list. This is just the start of our journey to find the best college football experience. So we wanna hear from you, where we might have missed and what could possibly top our rankings. With that being said, this is Snapback Saturday's Ranked, starting in Dublin, Ireland.
Today we're watching American football in Ireland.
Yes, the first game of the entire college football season is taking place here in Dublin, and myself and Tim have flown over 3,500 miles from New York for the Aer Lingus Classic.
I'm not sure there is a better city in the world to host a college football game.
We got Colts, Packers, Patriots. Talk to me. How does this happen? Glory Hunter. I saw your technique there. Can I see if I can try to get by you?
We started in downtown Dublin for the Florida State pep rally, and I set the tone early of who has the best arm on the channel.
This ball's soaked.
Uh-oh.
This ball is so wet.
You got to play under the conditions.
Can I just say, I have small hands. That's the problem.
There's certainly no shortage of Guinness being drunk throughout the weekend, especially if you venture into the storehouse. The Aviva Stadium is one of the more beautiful stadiums I've ever visited, and consider yourself very lucky if you're able to get through the whole game with no rain. Being able to watch an American sport with people from around the world is truly a special experience, and one that is unique to the Aer Lingus Classic when it comes to college football. Every fan is on the edge of their seat for every play. Tim got on the board early with a spot-on prediction of what we thought was a huge Georgia Tech upset over Florida State.
And the Yellow Jackets did it!
Little did we know what their season was about to entail. The only negative I would say is you can avoid the food at the stadium and just stick to the Guinness, but without a doubt, this one finds its way to the top as our first bucket list experience.
For game 2, we headed to Pittsburgh for the Backyard Brawl, often a forgotten rivalry in the scope of college football, partly because they just started playing each other annually again, and also because I don't think a lot of people know geography. In case you didn't know, these campuses are just 75 miles apart, and these two schools absolutely despise each other.
WVU.
The Mountaineers.
You suck, WVU. That's all I gotta say.
Can you say one nice thing about West Virginia?
That was evident from the jump. Now, the fact that Pitt plays their home games in an NFL stadium knocks it down a peg because you don't get that true campus feel. Even though the campus is worthwhile, despite the stupid tall building.
The largest building in the United States? That's not possible.
On a college
campus.
It's pretty. I couldn't give a flying that it's the biggest on campus. The students line up at 9 a.m., tailgates are rocking, and our club seats were fun, even though you're still across from the student section. The three of us can all agree that this would be even better in Morgantown. This lands in the one and done tier, although we did make a new friend that may have to show us this rivalry on his home turf.
For game 3, we were in Boulder to see Baylor at Colorado. Before I tell you about the primetime experience, please hit that subscribe button. We spent over $100,000 going to all these games, and we really need you to hit that subscribe button to continue searching for the best college football experience.
Let's it go to the sideline. Big six.
As I threw that ball, someone behind me goes, "Seriously, guys? Well, your mad kids have a football, the kids have footballs at the football event?"
When you get to Boulder, you don't get that night before the big game feel, but you do get one of the most beautiful campuses in the country, plus the coolest team store.
It isn't white out tomorrow, though. Tim's upset.
It's a whiteout. Don't care. We're all gonna wear the same color. Go team.
This trip is so unique due to the fact that Deion Sanders is the head coach. The bookstore is filled with his own primetime merch. Still, on game days, there's not much buzz. I actually went on a hike the morning of the game, something I wouldn't do in any other college town. But once you're at the frats or the iconic bar scene, things start to pick up.
Can you do the dance that you do in the corner?
It's kind of hard.
It's kind of hard, I imagine.
It's tough to grade the Colorado experience without mentioning we might have seen the game of the year.
The end zone for the game is caught by
We saw Shedeur Sanders launch a game-tying Hail Mary, and then the Heisman winner Travis Hunter forced a game-winning fumble in overtime. This goes in the boys trip tier, but get there fast so you get the bonus of seeing what it's like with Deion Sanders running the show. Just make sure your hotel isn't haunted.
Hey, get off the edge of the bed. For Game 4, Snapback Saturdays finally got to hit SEC country.
Roll Tide till the day I die.
I've said this over and over. When you travel to a college football game, you should be able to feel the buzz on campus well in advance of game day. And that's exactly what happens in Tuscaloosa. The Strip on a Friday night before a football Saturday is everything that's beautiful about college football in the South.
I graduated. Yeah. Not even from here.
From
Ohio State.
And then see them all.
But I'm roll damn tide this weekend. That's what I'm talking about. Bring it in, bro.
Now, some people say that their success has led to a little more wine and cheese kind of crowd. I don't totally see it that way.
Roll Tide. I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide.
Nothing but the
Wake
Tide.
up in the morning and I piss a gallon
Of Tide.
every morning.
Are some fan bases maybe more desperate and rowdy than Bama? Sure. But to me, if I had just met someone who had never seen SEC football, I would say start with a trip to Tuscaloosa because of everything it encompasses. Your jaw will be on the floor the first time you see the size of the frat and sorority houses, the tailgate setup with the tents, and seeing the TVs get mounted in all of them the night before. I mean, Dixieland Delight underneath a southern night sky is worth the price of the trip alone.
Spend my dollar on beer.
And notice how I've yet to mention that this was probably the best college football game of the entire season. That's because a trip to Bama isn't gameplay dependent. Even when it's a top 5 matchup and we get the greatest crowd pop moment of the season.
Gotta have it right now. And they take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams, still spinning free. Touchdown Alabama, they answer in one play. 75 yards for the 17-year-old. Are you kidding us?
It's well-deserved as the second experience in our bucket list tier.
For game number 5, we hit Knoxville, Tennessee to see the Vols versus the Gators, and this one was special. Not only because we got the red carpet treatment from the school and there was a walk-off overtime touchdown, but a Tennessee game day experience has so much to offer. It is as true of a college town as you will get, and the campus was absolutely beautiful, although the inspiration for the checkers is a bit suspect.
I thought the checker would be a little more noticeable. Again, love Tennessee. You wouldn't even know that that was checkers. Like, that can't be it.
All three of us stamped that Tennessee gear is potentially the best in all of college football, up there with Oregon, and put a dent in our wallets.
You found the one.
The tailgating scene was a bit more mellow than I would have expected, but once you get inside, make sure you bring your earplugs.
This is definitely louder than Alabama so far.
Sampson breaks free. Touchdown.
This was easily the loudest crowd we heard through the entire tour, and aesthetically, looking out into the checkerboard crowd is a sports moment you will never forget. We will always accept some pampering while staying true to our tier list, but that tray of food brought out to us was an absolute joke.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy Oh my God.
One major warning though, either be ready to sleep on the street or stay somewhere walking distance from Neyland because it is impossible to get an Uber to your hotel after the game. This was one of the toughest decisions of the entire trip, but Tennessee just misses out of the bucket list here and strongly slides into All-American.
For Game 6, we visited Austin to see my alma mater. This was the biggest home game in school history. Texas was finally maybe back as the #1 team in the country, facing off with Georgia for the first time since joining the SEC. What puts Austin in the boys trip tier is the fact that the city was hosting F1 that same weekend. It's big enough to do so, has enough great bars and good eats that the city can handle it all. One shocker about the Longhorn experience is that while we have the biggest brand in college football, we have by far the worst team merch. As someone who attended UT for the worst 4 years in school history, I can say this experience has improved, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. The environment flows with the ups and downs of the game.
From the end zone, still trying to buy time, stumbles forward.
How we feeling?
Although we did get to throw some bottles on the field, the crowd is game dependent. but the experience is not. Go grab your friends and head to Austin for a great weekend. We're 6 games in and we spent over $21,000 so far, and it would have been way more had it not been the help from Seat Club. They saved us close to $10,000 on tickets through the entire Snapback Saturday's journey. Seat Club is an annual subscription of $79 with code Snapback, so you don't pay fees on tickets for an entire year. Any tickets, college football playoff, concerts, Yale, Penn, whatever game you want to attend. We like to call them the Costco of tickets. Shout out AJ and Big Justice.
Oh, come on, bring the boom.
I don't know how to do that.
And for a limited time, you can get a free trial, yes, free trial, using the code SBFREE. Hit the link below and never pay another fee on a ticket again.
For game number 7, we went to FSU in Miami, and one key question had to be answered. Are Miami students excused for having glaringly weak attendance for their football games? The Miami campus is 20 miles away from Hard Rock Stadium, but how treacherous really is that drive?
Sucks. Yeah, if I went to Miami, I'd literally never go to a game. I really don't blame them at all.
If I was banged up, this would be terrible.
Clock is at 52 minutes. Probably gonna sit in a touch of traffic here, but look at the tents. Someone's tailgating.
Wouldn't wish the drive on my worst enemy.
So dramatic.
So bad I forgot it was Saturday. It's absolutely horrific, which really sucks because the U-Miami campus itself resembles a resort. You don't need to feel the warm weather and the vibes. Just head to the hilariously underwhelming bookstore. Like, this is the best option for a polo. Dude, this thing's gonna be hanging at TJ Maxx in 3 weeks. Look, is Hard Rock Stadium pretty and modern? Yes. Are the tailgates bumping? Yes. Can you get a chicken sandwich with caviar on it?
That is so top tier stadium food.
Somehow, yes. But when you have an undefeated team led by a Heisman hopeful quarterback playing against their arch rival, and you can't feel that in the air, then I'm not sure this place ever gets rowdy. I truly believe that Miami fans and students deserve more, as the icing on the cake for me was the 45-minute walk from the stadium to the Uber pickup area. Yeah, no, this is a nightmare, and we left early. Which was enough for me to put this in the wouldn't go if I was given free tickets tier, because I will never go to Hard Rock Stadium ever again unless Clemson is playing in the Natty there next season.
For game 8, we wanted to see what it was like at an Ivy League football game. Spoiler alert, it's in our bottom tier. That tier actually got its name because every student we talked to had never actually been to a Penn football game.
I've been to none this year.
I've been to 0 actually.
Zero.
We are about to enter the biggest tailgate at Penn. I mean, it is getting going down there.
This was our second game that we got all access to, and we were pretty taken aback by the locker room. It was easily comparable to Tennessee, maybe even better. Ultimately, you get a high school football game feel in an only 10% filled stadium. The nice part about a Penn game is that you're in the middle of Philly and you feel really prestigious walking through campus. They do have some pretty electric traditions like the touchdown helmet or throwing toast on the field.
Can I help you? It's electric.
Shout out to Penn for a very fun time, but we won't be back for a football game.
Game number 9 had us heading to Happy Valley for the Penn State whiteout, and boy is this a loaded one. Did Fox ruin the whiteout, or is it still a bucket list college football experience? One thing that is certainly bucket list about the Penn State experience is this hidden gem cheesesteak spot we found by campus. I also had potentially the greatest bookstore purchase of the tour.
Is this a boom or a doom?
It's a bust. I don't know what that is. Is that some Costco?
Yeah, see, you did do.
But otherwise underwhelming merch specifically for a whiteout. The tailgating scene around the stadium is elite and they do not mess around. The fans are super friendly and knowledgeable about their squad, and we even found a Timmy Takes fan club.
He's getting waved at, he's getting meatballs.
I own every campus we're at. I thought I owned the SEC. I think I own the Big Ten too.
But one thing that can't be overlooked is there is zero service around the stadium. And all you traditionalists will probably start angrily commenting that this shouldn't matter and us kids are always on our phones. But if I want to meet up with a friend or check a score of another game, I should be able to. But back to the burning question. Yes, Fox 100% ruined the Penn State whiteout. The whiteout aesthetically is the same and it's beautiful to see, but the energy and excitement is not the same playing a 5-5 former Pac-12 school. Until we get another top 10 matchup for the whiteout, we won't see a moment like the famous Mo Bamba versus Michigan. I've been to an old-fashioned Penn State whiteout. That is certainly bucket list experience. Nowadays, it's just All-American.
We hit double digits for our trip to Madison ahead of #1 Oregon versus Wisconsin. Bury me in Madison, Wisconsin. I had the weekend of my life. Once you get to Madison, you see the beauty of the campus, the real college town feel, while also being in a big capital city. We got a bonus Friday night court storming before Saturday's full day of tailgating. This city knows how to drink and eat and get up for a big game. I feel like we got the best feel for a Wisconsin game day. A facility tour the day before, going into the club section to test the food, or on the field to watch the game. This game experience does hinge a bit on the game, but having #1 on the ropes led to the best jump around experience in the last maybe even 10 years. They almost completed the upset, and I almost got to take down the goalpost.
They got that thing in there.
This ranking in the boys trip tier may surprise you based on how glowingly I'm talking about Madison. But we got a Friday night hoops win, all access pass, and almost beat the #1 team in the country. The chances that'll happen again are pretty slim. If Wisconsin does return to a top 10 football program, this absolutely goes into the All-American tier.
For game 11, we went to Akron versus Kent State. Don't laugh. Part of the deal here was that the boss man Jack said if we were gonna travel to all these amazing games, then at any moment he could pull the reverse Uno card and send us to see the worst team in all of college football. It's Of course, he didn't join us because, like most people, he watches midweek Maction from the comfort of his couch. But real college football fans endure the elements.
Can't you tell how beautiful it is?
There's nothing grittier than walking around a Rust Belt campus in the pouring rain.
Going to the game tonight?
No.
You're not going?
I don't know.
It's for the wagon wheel.
And those that are tough enough are rewarded. For one, it was the most underrated bookstores we came across on the entire tour.
You got to get a selfie with Stella.
Are we serious?
I'm actually going to get someone to take a picture of both of us.
No, stop it.
Excuse me? Do you mind taking a picture of us with Stella? Yeah. Thank you so much.
I mean, how many other places can you have your Uber drop you off at the front step of the stadium? How many other places can you sit wherever you want for 20 bucks? Don't get me wrong, this is the worst football I've ever seen in person, and that's including Pop Warner. But the few fans are some of the most passionate you'll come across.
These morons, man. This team sucks. This team's so bad.
And hell, if you have a couple TikTok followers, you might even end up on the field.
What an honor. They don't respond, so you can't really talk to the masses.
All jokes aside, I believe every college football fan owes a trip to a midweek Maction game. And that's why it deserves its own tier in the sickos only category.
Game number 12 was the game in Columbus. From the moment you land in Columbus, you can feel the importance of this game and the history behind it. Columbus is one of the more underrated cities/college towns and has a great balance of tailgating scenes between fraternities, bars on campus, bars downtown, and tailgates in the lots outside the stadium. Although the buzz is very real around the campus and the Xing out of every single M is a tradition unlike any other, once inside the stadium, the crowd disappointed big time. I was expecting this atmosphere to be at a 10 and it was more like a 5.
Howard goes through his progressions.
I'm going to crash the out, man.
Whether it was freezing cold temps or the extremely lackluster performance from my Buckeyes,
A 2-yard pass.
what is respected as the greatest rivalry in college football disappointed a bit. The Shoe is a beautiful, iconic stadium, and the walk from campus to it is one of the better ones in college football, but an OSU experience and the game in particularly surprisingly only lands in the boys trip tier. Even though my Buckeyes lost, it's good that I kept 100% confidence that we are still going to the Natty and Ryan Day was the right man for the job.
What an absolute joke of a program. Ryan Day should not be allowed to coach in the playoff. If he's not fired by the time this video goes live, channel's canceled.
If you want to see more crash out moments from yours truly, make sure to hit the subscribe button so we can keep this channel going.
For game 13, I headed solo to College Station for the Lone Star Showdown. I'm not a hater, but this game falls into the one and done tier for many reasons. There's nothing going on in College Station. Once you've seen the level of hatred at the tailgate, you automatically get it.
Oh, this is dinner for about 300 of my closest friends.
And lastly, seeing the rivalry return for the first time in 14 years, Seeing Power as an electric intro, learning all about the Yellers, the weirdest but most interesting tradition in college football, all left me with the same feeling. This is unbelievable, but I never want to come back here. Also, bell to ass.
And Arch Manning still rumbling, banging down near the pylon.
And it is a touchdown.
Oh!
For what it's worth, I do think this experience beats the return leg in Austin next Thanksgiving. After hitting 12 college campuses, it was time for our first neutral site game. We love the stakes of these games, but if your team isn't in them, they're not necessarily worth going to. Plus, you can't guarantee you're gonna get a Cam Scattaboo legacy game.
Look at Scattaboo go!
He's better than Jensen.
Game 15 was America's game in the nation's capital with the president in attendance. This had to have been bucket list here, right?
Wrong.
We went in with sky-high expectation. After talking to some fans, we felt the passion behind such a storied rivalry.
This is our Super Bowl. This is everything to us.
All you hear about is the pregame pageantry, the prisoner exchange, the anthem, the flyover, and I will say it was great. And maybe this makes me a bad American.
You're hating. You're hating on our troops.
But it just didn't blow my socks off, and if I'm being completely truthful, no goosebumps. We saw a pretty good game for Army-Navy football standards and had a ton of fun, but a huge part of the reason that this did not live up to expectations was that it was played at the Commander Stadium. Everyone we talked to said you need to see this game in Philly. It just gives a whole different vibe. So as of right now, Army-Navy falls into the one and done tier, but if you're gonna do it and you get the game in Philly, I definitely understand how this could rise into our higher tiers.
Before we knew it, it was playoff time, and I had one question. Which playoff game do you go to if your team's in the dance? Getting to go to the first home game in college football playoff history was the #1 game on our list when we set out on this journey back in August, and it couldn't have worked out any better. Getting a venue where none of us had ever been before. Hand up, I'm a huge Notre Dame hater.
I hate Notre Dame. I hate Notre Dame.
But I'm also fair in that a trip to Notre Dame has always been a bucket list item for me. And somehow, some way, I left South Bend with a little less hate in my heart. South Bend is definitely in the absolute middle of nowhere. But the snow falling over the iconic sights of the Golden Dome and Touchdown Jesus actually brought a little tear to my eye. And I said all this before I knew that Riley Leonard was a fan of our channel.
I watched a whole YouTube video.
Yeah, what'd you think?
There's that one guy.
Timmy?
He's like hating. He's a hater, but he loves it.
On the flip side, I do have to mention that the stadium needs an upgrade to the sound system.
I'm literally blaming the PA. Shipping up the Boston wasn't even loud enough.
And let's be honest, the clientele in attendance is a little posh, but Notre Dame was certainly a perfect match to host the first ever home playoff game and sits firmly in the All-American tier.
Game 17 took me back to Happy Valley for a home playoff game, but this time it was a whiteout during the day.
I think it's the best in college football, the whiteout.
Yes, sir.
Would Penn State get its redemption? It certainly did.
Picked off, and it's coming back.
My biggest takeaway is the atmosphere is more about the opponent than the time of day. This was 10 times louder than the whiteout versus Washington, and probably up there with Tennessee for the craziest atmosphere of the entire tour. While this improved experience does not elevate Penn State to bucket list, it does confirm that if the whiteout goes back to a night game versus a top 10 opponent, this is a no-brainer bucket list experience.
For Texas's home playoff game, we returned to Austin. This game had an even sleepier feel with the 2 p.m. kick.
Vibe check?
It's a little sleepy.
Sitting in the lower deck is way better than up top at DKR, and the sun shining on you is what makes the game such a good guys trip. It didn't have that true playoff game feel, but I basked in the sun and in my win over Little Tim.
I want to
No movement in our tier list for a trip to Austin for me.
Game 19 also happened to be the same day as Game 17. After a quick 5-hour drive from State College, I arrived in Columbus for another chance at redemption similar to Penn State. The Vol takeover was very real.
Holy sh**.
But despite that, the fans bounced back in a big way.
Can't find him! Can't find him!
I've been to many OSU games, but this was the loudest I have ever heard the shoe.
Can't hear.
And the team got its redemption from the putrid performance against Michigan. While this was certainly an improved experience to the game, it still stands firm in its tier. But my biggest takeaway from the first round as a whole is if your team is participating in a home playoff game, you have to get there.
Just pack it up, buddy. Pack it up and go home.
It was back on the road for some neutral site playoff football. A lot of people, including myself, have questioned why we need to have these quarterfinal semifinal games at neutral sites. It's all about the bowl people and their corporate friends buying out all the suites, so naturally, that's exactly where I sat. Shout out Underdog.
Free food and drinks.
In terms of the atmosphere, my expectations were as low as the ticket prices, and it was warranted because the capacity wasn't even close to being full. However, there is a conclusion here, and it's that sometimes you get a paradox. The gameplay outperforms the hype, and that's why when you have get-in prices that are that low for a game with stakes that high, you buy the ticket and take the ride.
We'll see. We need a pop. We need something big to happen.
Because you never know when a barn burner is gonna break out. Oh, and maybe you actually do always get a Scataboo Legacy game.
Looking for Scataboo and he gets him! Stiff arm! Helmet off!
Next, we headed to Pasadena for the Rose Bowl. I could talk about this experience all day long. It is a football fan's dream. I describe it as a football festival. They describe it as the granddaddy of them all. You park on a golf course, you have to get iconic merch, which will be worth a ton in future years. And while the majority of fans are going to be of the teams in the game, you don't even have to be one of them. The weather is perfect. The sunset is perfect-ter, and there's not a bad seat in the building.
There's one big bowl. I feel like that's what stadiums were meant to be.
Even the food offering in a 100-year-old stadium was incredible.
Olympia may have been the greatest stadium food I've ever eaten in over 100 sporting events.
If I had to complain about anything, it'd either be the no phone service or the fact that the Rose Bowl parade is at 8 a.m. on New Year's Day. It's easily in the bucket list here for me. But a little pro tip, leave a few minutes before the end of the game if you can to not sit in hours of traffic and ruin your amazing experience.
Our second to last game was the Cotton Bowl, or better known as the Settlement Bowl, as one of me or Jack was booking their spot in the national championship. The fact that my Buckeyes sent Jack's Longhorns packing doesn't hide the reality that the Cotton Bowl is the same as the rest of the bowl games. If your team is in it, head to Jerry World, and if it's not, you can skip it. But let's play that Jack Sawyer clip just one more time.
One time, baby. Let's go. One stop. End this game.
Pressure comes.
Get him!
And then there was one. You probably think that this is gonna fall into the bucket list tier. A national championship matchup between Casey's Buckeyes and their Notre Dame Fighting Irish, represented by our Snapback Fam contest winner, Jack W. Also a good reminder to hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe to Snapback.
But is it all that it's hyped up to be? The ticket prices were through the roof, and it was a far cry from a January vacation, as it was a rare 15 degrees in Atlanta. But because we're seasoned vets, we know that location is everything. And staying at the Signia Hotel, which was an actual stone's throw away from Mercedes-Benz Stadium, was the key to the entire trip. I cannot recommend it enough. For one, it's where all the ESPN big dogs were staying, so it quickly became routine to be waiting for the elevator next to, say, Nick Saban or Kirk Herbstreit, but also it provided easy access to all the unique fanfare that comes with being at a championship event. Just make sure to remember you pack your old high school athleticism with you. Now, I can't speak for every national championship, but Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a well-deserving host. It's a beautiful, modern arena with concession prices that make you feel like you've time traveled. There were enough die-hard fans where you could truly feel the anxiety permeating throughout the entire stadium as Notre Dame made its comeback.
And that's a one possession game.
But in the end, the celebration was on for Casey and the Buckeyes. At least one of us was crowned a champion at the end of this journey. This experience falls into the one and done tier. Save this trip for when your team's in the big game, or if you're, say, a Penn State fan, maybe wait till it comes to a city near you.
What an amazing season. We saw Casey's team win it all. We saw the first ever home college football playoff game. We saw the Heisman winner. We spent $100,000 along the way and then traveled 39,254 miles, which is over 1.5 times around the world. But have we found the best experience in college football? We're continuing our journey next season, so let us know right now in the comment section what we might have missed and what you think is the best experience in college football. Snapback fam, hit that subscribe button. There's more content coming soon. Much love. Peace.